411 Live.
Where you can learn about issues that impact us every day. State of world, 411 Live.
Real people, real talk.
Made to help people in our community in every way. For your girl, 411 Live.
When we started the 411 Live, Real People, Real Talk, it was back in 2019, and at that time, we were exclusively focused on human trafficking, specifically sex trafficking. We chatted with victims, survivors, tattoo removal services, trauma specialists, organizations that were dedicated to helping survivors. And then the pandemic hit. And at that time, we shifted a little bit and started broadening our topics, but that doesn't mean that human trafficking lessened or that it stopped. And we're very thankful for organizations like Convergence Resource Center that stayed in there and continued the work of helping, dedicated to helping survivors of human trafficking, helping them to get back on their feet. And now, Convergence Resource Center has another campaign that's focused on men. And we're going to talk about that. Joining me, Dr. Debbie Lassiter, Executive Director and co-founder of Convergence Resource Center, and Arnold Cifax. And you've never been on the 411 Live, so welcome to you.
Thank you.
Arnold Cifax is the director of this campaign that I'm talking about that's focused on men. It's called HEMAD. That's HEMAD. We're going to talk a lot about that, and you're going to find out about it, and I think you would want to become a part of it if you're a man. And if you're a woman, you will encourage your man to become a part of it. Okay. But first of all, you two, I mentioned that we shifted our topics a little bit, and we weren't talking much about human trafficking, but it was still out there, even during the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. That didn't go away.
No, it didn't. Actually, human trafficking got worse, if you can imagine that, during the pandemic. Because they had, if you will, captive audiences as well as captive people, they would do more of what we call in-calls, where they would have women dropped off or girls dropped off, boys dropped off, men dropped off, and keep them for weeks, days, using them, torturing them, inviting others to do the same. And that was happening right here in our own city as well as abroad.
Oh, my.
Another thing that came up was this was already happening, but it increased so much that it was actually mentioned in the tip report. More people were trading sex for rent. They couldn't get to work. They still needed a place to live. So they started increasing that avenue of trading.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And, sex trafficking it hugely affects the person who is being trafficked, but it has a ripple effect. It affects their loved ones, the people who know them. It's so broad.
And the community at large is really unaware of the full impact of human trafficking. We keep thinking, oh, it's just sex. Oh, it's just girls in the inner city. Oh, it's just these men coming in from the suburbs. No, it's hitting everybody. And in our city, although we were identified as a hub for human trafficking, the reality is that any large city is a hub.
Yeah.
Because the more you bring people in, the more increased activity you have. And so, and it's not localized. People don't just, I'm only going to human traffic people in Milwaukee. No, wherever there's a large event, I'm taking my product over there because I need to make money. So it's much worse than we think it is. People are becoming aware because we're getting more publicity, but it is much worse than we think it is.
Yeah, speaking of that, large events, of course we typically think of the Super Bowl, but the big golf championship, that was not that long ago.
Exactly.
And there were arrests.
Yes, human trafficking. Wherever you're bringing large groups of people, even some of these concerts where you're bringing in stars, okay, human trafficking is going on. It's increased, okay? And we don't say it's the event. It's the activities around the event. So we wouldn't say it's the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's the events around the Super Bowl. Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here, when we go to the Super Bowl to do rescues on the ground, they fly in thousands of girls, thousands of women. The airports, the bus stations, everywhere, they're just coming in flocks. And one club, when we were in, I think, Atlanta, flew in 1,500 girls.
Oh, my gosh.
One club.
Wow. Okay. So now let's talk about HEMAD, because here's the reason why I like this campaign. It's playing into the idea that you tackle the problem in different ways. And this is another way of tackling the problem. And it's bringing in men, and they're taking the lead in this. And I just think that it makes sense. It just makes sense. So, Arnold, just tell me about HEMAD. What is this?
HEMAD began about 7 years ago and got caught traction about 3.5 years ago. It's a campaign that was designed to make men and boys aware of the importance of getting involved and actually taking a stand. But more than that, it was also a way to let them know that their involvement in certain things may even contribute to the perpetuating the sex trafficking. So HEMAD stands for Human Education for Men and Boys to eradicate the demand. Because if there's no demand, then we can stop all of the purchasing, right?
Right.
Standard piece, you have to have a demand in order to get the product. So the product is out there. And as Dr. Lassiter was stating, it's not just local, it's everywhere. And some men don't realize that it's everywhere. Some may make the assumption that it's just in the inner city, it's just in poor communities or things like that. It hits all 72 counties here in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
And everyone should be made aware of that and the importance of how it affects not just the victims, but like you stated, the families and things of that nature, but it also affects the economy. Sex trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar operation, and it affects the economy, which is why we have to not only let men know that this is important to be involved in, to take that stand, but for the purpose of getting numbers to change policies to assist in taking these people out of their employment, that are out there trafficking young girls and boys. It's extremely important for them to take that first step. And this first step, being involved in HEMAD, is basically just taking a pledge. And the pledge is well written. Jason Fields, the former state rep, he actually authored it, and it's a pretty basic pledge. But along with that, if they wanted to get a little bit more involved, they can actually have some training that Dr. Lassiter offers. But the initial step is recognition that it's a problem. It's out there.
Right.
And men are heavily involved with perpetuating its growth.
Okay. Let me back up and just cut it in. It seems like HEMAD has two goals. One is the awareness.
Yes.
And then the other one is action. You're taking the pledge, you're promoting, you're letting people know about it, you're sharing the pledge with other people so they can take it and they're aware. So when you get to that awareness piece, when you were broadened as far as sex trafficking, what was your reaction to the stuff that you were learning?
I'm going to tell you, for someone that believes that he's in the know, it was an eye-opener for me. It was an eye-opener in the fact that you recognize that there's some things out there, but you don't know how close it could possibly be. And what it usually brings to mind for me are the female cousins and my daughter-in-laws, my nieces. It brings that to mind, and how easy it is to capture someone in a very vulnerable state and pull them in. I didn't know that there were different techniques of drawing people into sex trafficking. I didn't know that there were different venues where they are more susceptible to being trafficked than others. Even seeing people on the streets holding up signs, I didn't know there's a possibility that they could be trafficked. I was unaware of all of that. And it hit home for me when I started to think about the possibility that someone in my family could be involved in that. And because of that, it hit home.
Yeah.
So that when I went out to be a part of this, oh my goodness, when I went out to become a part of this, I thought, yeah, men should know that parties or the things that we do, even watching porn, is a possibility that you're perpetuating the thought, the thinking, and even the purchase of a girl or boy out there. And personally, it became very, how can I say it? It became very emotional to me, very important to me because of the friends, family that could be involved in this, and I wouldn't be aware. There are some signs that I can now recognize because of the training. There's some men that I speak to, and just in the midst of conversation, I'll mention to them, man, you know, the sex trafficking thing is real. And some may take a matter of fact, look at it, and some may look at it as, well, how real is it?
Yeah. They don't
Which
know.
gives me opportunity. And a lot of men don't know. They don't know. I mean, I didn't know.
Right, right. And I think one of those things where the difference between prostitution and sex trafficking or human trafficking, that's a big gulf there. A lot of people don't distinguish the two or don't really know. Whereas you're thinking, well, she's out there, so she wants to be there. Automatic thinking. And that's most of the time not the case. Yeah.
No.
And you were talking about how it could be, within family and you don't know it. Because that phrase that it's used all the time, but I still like it, hidden in plain sight. That person, if you're in a venue somewhere, you look around, more than likely there's somebody in that group who is a victim of sex trafficking.
And that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Again, large venues bringing people in to be sold. I had no idea. I never even crossed my mind, never even thought about the possibility that this type of crime could be happening here until I was made aware.
Right.
Large groups just mean that, okay, there are some people here that are here not necessarily for the golf outing. They're not necessarily here for the Super Bowl. They're here for some underlying very evil reasons.
Right. Right. Let's see. I have this pledge. We're going to take a break in a minute, but I just want people to know when we talk about the pledge, what exactly that is. And I have the quote here. It says, "It is my duty to not stand by and let the industry of human trafficking benefit off of the back of the innocent. Therefore, I pledge my heart, mind, body, and spirit to the eradication of an industry that seeks to destroy life rather than build it up. We of HEMAD pledge to work to eradicate the business of human trafficking for our women, for our men, and for the world. I pledge to educate men on the importance of ending human trafficking." That's a good pledge.
Yeah.
That's a good pledge, especially if you take it to heart. How in the world did this started in Milwaukee with the Convergence Resource Center, and this baby is international.
Yes, it is.
How did that happen?
Well, part of it, and I have to give him credit for this, part of it is we had a dynamite PR guy, Patrick McSweeney, and Patrick likes to stay in the background, but we started out and we were getting some traction, but when Patrick came along, it really helped get it out in all different areas in different ways. I think last year we were in 11 states and 4 countries. And it keeps going. See, we do the kickoff, but the pledge goes, the campaign goes all year long. And now the men call it a movement. They say, Debbie, it's not a campaign anymore because it doesn't stop. It's a movement.
Yeah.
And it keeps going. And so it started out, and we have always been, we are open. If you want to work with us, you want to be above board, we're open. Come work with us. And so people were calling from all over, hey, can I do this pledge here? Can I share it with all these people? We had a lady down in Florida. She had the Attorney General of Florida. She had the mayor, the governor, all of them taking it down in Florida. And she went to schools that had boys that were troubled and had them taking it and explained to them. Because along with the pledge, there's a 3 to 4 minute video you watch first. That gives you a little bit of education on what you're about to take the pledge for. And so that's how it got going with the internet, newspaper. I mean, the newspapers here and the news shows and everything here, everybody was very receptive and very supportive. And so it just got out. And then this was amazing. The survivors got it out. They got it out because to them, when they first saw men taking the pledge, a lot of them were in tears because they said, we've never seen this side of men, that they will stand for us and not hurt us. And we had even men watching the video and tearing up because they were realizing that some of the actions that they do, just as a matter of fact, hanging out with the guys, going to the strip club, watching porn flicks together, they didn't think there was any harm. But now they know that there is. And that's due to HEMAD. When you're talking about 60,000 men taking that pledge last year, it was pretty good.
60,000. All right. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the goal for this year.
Okay.
And a lot of other stuff.
Okay.
So I'm here with Dr. Debbie Lassiter, Executive Director of the Convergence Resource Center, and Arnold Cifax, who is the Director of the HEMAD campaign, or I should change that to HEMAD movement, right? We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You can say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You can chat with them in VR. It's all good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
We can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. Talking to Dr. Debbie Lassiter and Arnold Cifax, both with Convergence Resource Center, talking about the HEMAD campaign, or we're changing it to HEMAD movement because it's a year-round kind of thing. We were talking about, you said last year, was it 60 or 65?
60,000.
60,000 men took the pledge and were involved in this. What's your goal this year? What are you hoping for this year?
75,000.
75,000.
I always go up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised if it surpassed 75,000.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Not at all. We already have so many states that are like, we're ready. Give us the information. We're ready to go. So.
Yeah. So we were talking about how, people can get the launch date and how people can get involved, get more material. So let's kind of lay all of that out so people know exactly what to do, how to get involved, and take it away.
So I'll start, and then Arnold can chip in. So we actually are right now, if you are a man that was involved in HEMAD last year, you can send us a video of yourself taking the pledge, because we're building the video now that will be used for HEMAD.
Okay.
And then also what we will be doing this year and allowing people to do is you can just send an email into HEMAD at convergenceresource.org saying, hey, I want to host a pledge event. Because one of the things that makes this grow is the reason we launch it the week of Thanksgiving is because families are starting to get together. So you can be in a room. We had so many men in a room with their sons sending us videos saying, me and my sons are taking the pledge right now together. And so that kind of stuff. We had the Q's in the kitchen at their event. They all, for all day long, every hour, they took the pledge.
Oh, nice.
And it was just amazing. So men can start thinking about things like that. Women can start nudging them to think about things like that. And so those are some of the ways that it grows. And then what we also are going to do is give them 8.5 by 11 laminated copies of the pledge that they can post in their businesses. You can put this up in your house if you want. You can put it in your room at college if you're a young guy at college, because human trafficking is rampant on college campuses.
Right.
And so there's so many ways that they can do that. But then I'll let Arnold tell you about the pledge and these nifty shirts we're wearing. So go ahead, Arnold.
So once they take the pledge, of course, they have to go through the process of looking at the video.
And they can find that on the website.
Right.
Convergence.
After the launch date, it'll be up on the website.
Okay.
Prior to the launch, the only people that see it are us. But after the launch date, it's going to be up on our website. It's also on YouTube.
Okay. And the website is?
convergenceresource.org.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay. And when you go to Convergence Resource Org, look for the HEMAD logo on there, and you can tap that. We're asking that they fill that out and send us a picture or something to that effect so that we can, and let us know how many people were actually in the room. That's always a good measure. That's how we ended up moving from 3,000 to 45 to 60,000 men, and the different states and things of that nature. So they watch the video, they take the pledge, and we can move forward from there. If they want to be further involved and get the education piece, they would need to send an email or send us an email through HEMAD as well, and we'll figure out a good way to connect so that they can get the training that Debbie offers, explaining a little bit more about human trafficking. Some may want to just have a little bit of information. Some may want to go in depth. CRC services women, not men, but the HEMAD campaign has brought more attention to men understanding what human trafficking is, as well as what Convergence Resource Center is actually doing.
Yeah. And the goodies, the material, like the
yes. So we will give you, if you hold and host a HEMAD campaign meeting, and that doesn't have to be huge. It can be you at your Thanksgiving piece, and you want to get involved with that. Give us a call. We'll give you these wonderful shirts. We'll give you some wristbands, which I broke mine because my wrist is a little bigger. So,
so we ordered larger ones for guys like Arnold who break theirs.
Yeah, so that is some of the wonderful goodies that you'll get.
Usually the groups are what, like 5 and up?
Right. So we actually have at least 5. And just to clarify, the person hosting it will get the shirt while they last. Because once they're gone, we don't reorder for that year. So if you're scheduling one, let us know.
So get on it.
Yep. And if you want us to send you the pledge cards that men can carry around in their wallets if they like, you just need to contact us because we want to help you do this thing.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So what have the men been saying to you? After they've gone through and maybe they were at one of these launching parties or whatever. What kind of reactions are you getting from them?
Well, and I'm not going to mention any names of men that did this, but some men did start to cry. They were so overwhelmed with what they were learning in just those 3 to 4 minutes. They had no idea. Some were realizing that they had seen it and didn't know what they were looking at. Some were just shocked. They were just, the video ended and they just sat in the room. They didn't move. And they would just say, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Because we don't think of that. But one of the things that HEMAD does that I'm really, I don't want to necessarily say proud of, but super happy with, is that we paint such negative pictures of our men. We say negative things about them. When something bad comes up, we say, well, I knew they were going to be like that. But what this does is this shows you that that's not the majority.
Yeah.
The majority are the guys that are saying, not on my watch. And so this gives those guys an opportunity to stand up and say, hey, I'm not co-signing this. I'm not saying this is cool. Now, when we were younger, we didn't know any better. We thought the Mac was cool, right?
Right.
We thought Superfly was cool, right? We thought he had all these girls and they all wanted to be with him, but now we've learned better. Okay, and so these guys are standing up, and young guys too. Young guys are really excited about it as well.
You know, I was going to ask you about that because I know you were saying put the pledge at the college dorm room or whatever, so young people can see it. And I was just thinking, it is really important that young men come aboard, isn't it?
It's very important because for them and girls too, but because this is, and let me just clarify this, that men are not the only partakers of this industry. They're just the largest base, and that's why we started with them. Well, we know that women partake in this as well. But the reason that it's so important for it to be at these college campuses is because still some guys are still thinking it's cool. You know, not just young guys, but we want to try the young. You are our future. I'm going to live to be 100, but everybody isn't. You know, so we kind of need you guys to be around, you know, to make sure that the positive message moves forward and not the negative. We need the narrative to change. It's not cool for you to hit up a girl tonight and then buy another girl tomorrow night. It's not cool for you to go to the show and you got 3 or 4 girls hanging on you because you the man. You know, that's not cool. The players' ball is still legal. Why? You know, so it's you know what I'm saying? So we need to change that narrative so that our younger guys say, hey, no, that's not the world we want to live in.
Right.
We want to respect women. We want you to know that we value women. And so this gives them an opportunity to stand up and say that. And we wanted it to be public. You know, you might not want to send your picture in, that's fine. We're not going to do anything with your name, right? But you taking the pledge is public. So it's like you're not hiding around saying, well, yeah, you know, I think it's a bad idea, but I'm not going to tell anybody. We want you to take a stand. We want to see you.
Yeah.
That's an important piece, too, to let your face be known or let people know that, yeah, I'm taking a stand against this.
There's real buy-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That action piece makes a big difference. And I love the fact that it does change the narrative. I love the fact that men are not doing something that where they're getting attention for bad things. They're getting attention for taking a stand to change things.
Right.
And, you know, it doesn't start with just thinking about, man, that's really bad. Because we all do that. We all look at bad things and say, oh, bad things. And we shake our heads, but we don't have any action attached to it. And with HEMAD, they have an action piece attached to it where they actually stand and raise their right. And you know what? We never told them to raise their right hand, but they raised their right hand.
They did.
They raised their right hand and they take the pledge. And I was like, well, let's do that. And the first time it happened, it was with officials. It was with just a variety of different men. They raised their right hand and they took the pledge, and everyone saw them. So this word of mouth actually becomes infectious, and everyone that sees them do it, they say, well, what are you doing, and what does that represent, and how you get involved in that? And that word of mouth is what increases those numbers.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that a program and things of that nature doesn't change things. What changes things is when the mind changes, the behavior follows.
Right.
We can't force the behavior, but we can definitely give you some stimulation to think differently.
Very good. Okay, so the launch is?
It's November 22nd of this year.
Okay.
And if they are interested, if anyone is interested, they can definitely go to HEMAD at convergensresource.org, and they can take that pledge right away. They can call and say, listen, I want to be involved. I want to take this pledge. They can do that through email. They can do it through the site. They can call, and they can do any of that. For those that know me, they can call me personally. I'm not going to give out my personal number, but if you know me, you can call me.
And if they want to do a watch party or a launch party, let you guys know.
Definitely.
And that's where you're going to send an email into that HEMAD at convergenceresource.org, because we're looking for guys to publicize their launches through Zoom or through what's that, Facebook, and anything they want to publicize it through, because we need people to know that you don't agree with this idea. You don't think it's a cool thing. Yeah. And this is something simple you can do to let people know that you're not taking this.
Wouldn't it be nice if a bunch of young people did it on TikTok?
Wouldn't that be cool?
I'm not a TikToker, but I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah. Hey, you
or
guys-
any of the other social
Any
media
of
pieces.
the other, yes, absolutely.
And
Just
let
do
us
it.
know how many of you did it so we can add you to that history-making 75,000.
75,000 plus.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I
That's
love
what I'm
that.
saying.
I love that.
Can I throw a caveat in there?
Sure.
If they want to do this and it's a large group, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm not the PR guy, but I would be willing to come and assist them in doing that and actually give that pledge for them or with them, just to stand with them. I would put myself out there. If you've got a group that's 10, 20, even your company, if you got your company and they say,
Yes.
hey, well, we want to step up and do this, or
we
your
do.
fraternity
Okay.
want to step up and do this, I'm willing to come in and assist.
That's another incentive there.
There
Okay.
you go.
Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining me on the 411 Live. I'm ecstatic about this campaign. I think it's meaningful, it's needed, and it really will boost the awareness. And that's the important piece too. So thank you, Dr. Debbie Lassiter, Executive Director and co-founder of Convergence Resource Center, Arnold Cifax, Director of HEMAD. All the best to you, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of the 411 Live. Real people, real talk. Remember, we're a nonprofit organization, so if you are so inclined to help us out, go to our website, the411live.org. Until next time, I'm Beverly Taylor, and this is the 411 Live. If you would like to check out past episodes, there are many ways. Go to your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Like and watch us on Facebook. Watch and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have suggestions for future episodes, go to our website, the411live.org.